tea for both of us this week.
Yeah, no slurping, please.
I'll show you how to drink tea. Mine's not English tea, to be fair.
And was it?
Chamomile.
Calamari tea.
Calamari tea put me to sleep.
Fishy.
Okay. Liam,
Brian.
how are you?
Good.
Every week is the same. I don't really like if we're bringing on somebody else, like, oh, hello, whatever. Like, this is
Why don't you introduce me
such
like
and
that?
such. Oh, okay, I'll introduce you every single week. So today's guest is Liam Kieran.
Hi, everybody.
The words that are going to come out of my mouth, I actually can't speak in public.
If I speak, I'm in big trouble.
Um,
So topic today, Brian.
topic of discussion. I feel like we want to kind of bring a close the last two episodes. If you haven't listened to those, make sure to give them a listen to understand where this is leading on to. First episode, we spoke about our why, and hopefully that shed some light into how you can find your why. And then we spoke about our purpose, and if real estate was our purpose or what was that. And then this week we're going to talk about how to align your purpose and your job. And I really want to put a full stop here at this kind of little discussion from me, for you, for everybody's listening, and to provide some value for people to understand how to actually find your purpose and align that with your job. Because I came to some realizations from exercises that I did this week, and I think they're worth sharing, to be honest, because when I started looking at my why and then my purpose, and then that tailspin you put me into, like, I was just like, what am I doing? Like, how much time should I be spending doing this? So I've got more clarity on that, and I think you have too. So we're just trying to tie it all together.
Yeah, and said you did these exercises over the last, 2 weeks? I haven't intentionally sat down and did them yet. It will be tonight or tomorrow. I'll be sitting down and doing the same things. I've gone through them in my head, as we said, but to actually sit down and put pen to paper helps a lot more.
Well, yeah, it was a document that I was sent over from Mark, and you've done a lot of this stuff, but I don't think you've like compiled it together. Like, as in you were like to me before, like, oh, I haven't like done any of that, but like I could point to periods of that, like, and this isn't going to be like a recap of the document or whatever, but like it's just something that tied it together for me, like. And the only reason I did it was because he kind of just forced me to do it. Like, he sent it to me, I was like, do this. And he was like, oh, do session 1. And I thought session 1 was the full document. So I spent like 45 minutes doing it last week in the office, and I sent it back to him. He was just like, you did the whole fucking thing? And I was like, I thought that was session 1. He was like, all right, whatever. I don't like whatever. Just I'll do it again in a few more weeks and see.
Yeah.
But it was just about finding your North Star or whatever. And it really kind of puts it clear, like, anytime I got doubtful over what I was doing over the weekend, and I just took a look back and I was like, okay, that's what it is. Like, I mapped it out.
What is your North Star? Explain the concept of that.
I think your North Star is the thing that you're aiming towards, like direction that you're going, and the thing that you're pointing towards, and the thing that you're aiming towards in life. And I think that's necessary for everybody, because then you've got a direction, and you can just sail in that direction, just on course. Obviously there will be things that will jump up throughout life or throughout the next few years, but they're accounted for, and you don't want to be going in the wrong direction. Like, remember you saying, like, you could look back and realize you're going in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
I heard an analogy during the week talking about if a plane flies like 1 degree out of direction and keeps going out of that, after like a few hours they're like hundreds of kilometers out of course. I was like, fuck, that's so fair. Like, that's so,
it's accurate.
Yeah, like, you don't realize that you're flying out of course until you've got the hindsight to look back and be like, I'm completely way off of where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and I suppose then it's, once you know you're off course, is then correcting that and using the time to fly back on course, or make a new course, rather than just burying your head in the sand and keep going in that direction because that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But what was exercise 1? Start us off.
Well, this wasn't the exercise that they told me to do. Like, I just spent like 15 minutes before this podcast just been like breaking it down to 5 points of what to do. This doesn't mean that I have to send over a document to you or whatever. This is something you can do in your own time. It takes time. It could take a few weeks. I mean, it all depends on what point or what path you are in that. And that's not meaning that like this is linear and one is better than the other. It's the whole aim of the game is self-discovery. It's kind
And
of
how
like,
much you've got figured out so far.
exactly. Like the first point, like if we're talking about finding your purpose and aligning it with your job, the first point of action is making the locus of control internal. So what I mean by that is understanding that you have complete control over your life. Obviously within a frame you do, but you have the control to dictate your future. Just because you came from X background, or you had, X upbringing, or you studied law in university, or you didn't get good grades, or you studied medicine in university, that you're going to be a doctor. It's like your past experiences don't define you. Like you have the control to do whatever you want in life. And that doesn't mean that like tomorrow you can wake up and be Jeff Bezos, but you have to understand like that you have the control. It's not up to the external environment to decide your fate. It's not up to the external environment to decide how do you feel. It's not up to the external environment to dictate how you act on a day-to-day basis. Like stop leaving it up to the rest of the world and actually take some fucking control for yourself. And I'm saying this because I'm speaking to myself. I'm speaking to my older self, because I always had such fear about, not being successful, or, not being healthy, or like not being mentally well. It's just like, well, why giving that power to the rest of the world meant that I had no control over it myself. And the first step towards regaining control is understanding that, okay, it's up to me. Like it's completely up to me. Why am I fearing that things won't happen to me when I've got the control to dictate it? And I think that's the first step. And when we were speaking about this, like, and I was like, well, that's what you've done as well.
Absolutely.
You understand that it's up to you to control.
Yeah, as you said, I think that is the first major step. I think when you do realize that, it's a good and a bad thing, because like if you think that, if you're in the mindset that all this is just going to happen to you and just do what you want to do and what's meant to be will be, like I agree with what's meant to be will be, but if you sit in your arse and you don't do anything about it, or you don't change your ways, you will not end up where you're meant to be. Like that's not what's meant to be will be. Is if you put in this work and if you do what you have the potential to do, you will end up where you're supposed to be. But I think, yeah, it's a bit of a contrast to what you're speaking about, how like you need to make the change within yourself. But yeah, as you said, realizing that you can make those changes is definitely the first step. Like this is fucking up to me. Like, is it no one's coming to save you?
Yeah, it's just taking that independence and just understanding that I have to take some responsibility here. Even though like everything that has happened up to this point may not have been a direct fault of my own. I mean, how I was brought up isn't technically my fault, but it was an environment I brought up in. But you have to face the facts and be like, okay, but I'm not going to let it define me.
Play the hand you're dealt, like.
Exactly, like just literally just play what you're dealt.
It is what it is. Like, time to carry on. Like.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay, so what? What's next? And like I'm the same. Like I understand like what's for you won't pass you, and sometimes, yeah, I still do think there's kind of a connection greater like than yourself, but and there could be something potentially out there. I don't know if you believe in God or whatever. Like each to their own, but there's definitely some. I wouldn't leave it all up to the universe or God or whatever to dictate like my actions on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, if I. Allah will dictate if I close this deal or not. It's just like, or you could fucking take some ownership here and actually control it.
If you don't get out of bed and make the calls, like God's not going to do them for you.
Yeah, he's not coming for you.
So, he might help you with connecting the one that needs to be connected, but he can't make it from your bed.
Yeah. That was a loud car.
That was loud.
Fucking names.
Definitely picking up on that one.
The second one kind of is a byproduct of the first. So becoming self-aware, and actually looking into yourself and becoming that bit more self-reflective, because once you understand that you've got control of your life, you can actually look internally and understand what gets you going. So like, this is the things that motivate you, that drive you, thing you're running away from and running towards. And this is your past and the things that you entered into focus. And you can look at points in your past of where your natural curiosity was piqued, or what did you spend a lot of your time doing, or what did you really enjoy, moments that stand out to you. And a big one for me was like the people that I looked up to. I always remember this time, man, in sixth year, when this guy came into our school. It had nothing to do with the school curriculum or whatever. He just came in to teach some of the lads meditation. He would take us out for like an hour once per week, like a group of 20 of us. Like, he'd shoot the shit with us. Like, he'd start badmouthing the leaving cert and the teachers, and then we'd just do some breath work. And I respected him so much. I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know what it was. And I really enjoyed the meditation. And I was just like, fuck, this is cool. Like, and the breath work, because I always tied meditation with like religion class or whatever. It was just like,
Yeah.
this stereo where someone put on a disc of somebody walking us through guided meditation about walking through a forest and listening to the fucking trees rustling. And this was the first time that it was like, okay, that doesn't have to be that. This is breath work. It's away from that kind of bullshit side of it. And this is the reason that this helps you, the scientific reason behind it. And he just spoke his truth, that guy. Like, he just spoke what he thought. Like,
Yeah, like walking through trees and walking through a forest, listening to trees isn't relaxing for everybody.
yeah.
Like, that may not be what relaxes you. So
But it was the environment as well. I mean, if you're taught meditation in school, you've definitely got some resistance to it.
yeah.
I was taught in school, but it was the guy who was teaching to me had no affiliation with the school. And I respected him so much, man. He worked with young kids and worked with like adolescents, just teaching the breathwork and meditation to help deal with anxiety and depression. I was just like, I respect this guy. And I used to miss like I used to miss like a load of classes to go to that, and then the teachers would be giving out to us about like not taking religion seriously and leaving. So I was just like fuck off.
Yeah,
Honestly. But did you have, when you look back in your life, can you point at times where you were either entered into like deep focus or like flow state work, or something that you were just generally really enjoyed doing, or just piqued your kind of natural curiosity?
Yeah, there was definitely periods where I was in flow state. But I don't know, are you considering there a link between your flow state and your purpose or what you want to be doing?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you enter in flow state as a glimpse into what you're interested in. Like, for me, it could be conversations with some depth. So it could be the men's circle. Like, 2 hours can pass and I literally don't know, like, it could have been 2 minutes for all I know. Or when I sit down and do some journaling or do some writing on the laptop, plug in headphones, like, the time just passes. Or I'm doing some editing or listening to music. Like,
Yeah, but would you never get into flow state doing your calls at work, or
not necessarily, no.
would you not? That's
No.
just grinding out.
Yeah,
2
like,
minutes, like-
that's noticeable. Like, that's like, I'm forcing myself through this, like, because I don't know, I when people tell you to fuck off on the phone, it's not exactly gonna
That might just knock you out of
it's
your
not
flow
gonna
state.
connect me with my higher self.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I can remember when I used to be doing the cars, cleaning the cars, like headphones on, and right, it mightn't be my fucking purpose, but I enjoyed the work sometimes. No, I enjoyed the work a lot of the times, like, yeah. And next thing you realize, you're 3.5 hours into a job, like, and it's just gone.
But like, and that doesn't mean that you point to like doing the detail and they're cleaning the cars and be like, okay, I'm gonna be a car cleaner for the rest of my life. But like, it could be listening to music and getting something from A to B, like as in putting in work creatively to get something from point A to point B by the work that you put into it and having a finished product. Like that's creative in its in an
And even the
essence.
satisfaction that comes from doing it. Um, yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely aspects, like as you said, like
Mm.
taking things out of it. Okay, well, this is the part of it I enjoyed. Like I didn't fucking enjoy getting on my hands and knees and scrubbing seats for an hour, but like the process, I suppose, as you said, bringing something from A to B and providing this service while you're at it. Like,
Yeah. And
yeah,
would there be
interesting.
like anybody that you would look up to and be like, okay, that's like something meaningful, or that's a job that's worthwhile, or they've got values that I respect?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely in the way some people work. Like I think a lot of it comes from if it's like for me seeing someone doing that like an expert in their field. Like I love watching that. Like I love watching someone like ask them a question about anything to do and they just have it or they can remember things from fucking minor details from
Mm.
months ago. Like stuff like that I admire. But as a whole, like every side of a person, like if you're looking up to someone, are you looking up to every side of them or are you looking up to an aspect of that person?
Um, aspects that I see, like, so it could be, for example, that guy was probably like the way that his values, like honesty, integrity, like he was able to connect on a deeper level without having that airy fairy bullshit that I assumed that it would be.
Mm.
Grounded presence, listening intently when you're speaking to him, and everybody he was speaking to had something valuable to say. So like he's going to treat this person the same as this, and when they're speaking to him, he's listening as if it's the most important thing that he has to do on that point. Um, and then obviously valuable in the way that he can give back. Like all he was happy with was just like teaching meditation to and breath work to like fucking 18-year-old boys, like who like half of them weren't even paying attention or respecting them. Like they were just like using it as an excuse to get out of class.
Yeah, but he probably got value from one person.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. 100%. Definitely. And he actually studied psychology as well. So I remember, I think that was definitely like one point I was just like, oh, like I'm studying psychology. He studied psychology. It was definitely not a reason that I studied psychology, but it was just like another
Probably
confirmation
subconsciously.
that like there was a good few points where I was like, that's what led me into psychology, was following my natural curiosity. Like,
Yeah.
because like I was listening to him, he had done psychology. I was listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson, and he was a psychologist, a professor of psychology. So I was like, maybe this is where this will take me. I'm not sure. Obviously, I took a lot of things away from that, and I could be quite harsh on that course, but it wasn't what I expected. To be fair, it wasn't.
Nothing ever is, though, is it?
No, never really is. Never really is.
Preconceived ideas.
Yeah, but again, as we spoke about last week, it's definitely what you learn about yourself on the way.
What you can take out of it, like.
And I think it was just because I stayed into a state of learning about humans that it definitely made me more conscious of myself again.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think you can look at things from that aspect, as you spoke about on the last point, without diving into yourself. Like, obviously, okay, there's like maybe that made you more interested in what makes you tick and all the rest. But now it's much easier for you to analyze yourself because of doing that. And beforehand, you might not be able to do that. And I just think like that self-analysis is what's needed to be able to find the things, like to look back at your psychology course and be like, okay, well, I took this, this, and this out of it. Whereas if you weren't self-analyzing, or if you weren't kind of looking at the benefits of it, you're just like, oh, well, that was a fucking waste of my time. I'm not doing psychology. Like, what good? That was a waste of 4 years. You know?
Yeah, I don't think I became self-aware by studying psychology, but like I'm able to look back at that as a valuable experience because I'm the kind of person that looks into myself internally.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like me looking back on jobs I did in the past, it's only now that I can realize like, okay, well, I took this, this, and this from it. I am the way I am now because of this factor, this factor, this factor. Like, and while I was doing those things, I wasn't realizing that. And it's only now that I'm actually self-analyzing and looking inwards that I can take those benefits from it.
Yeah.
You know? So I suppose that whole kind of self-analysis makes all of that possible, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
100%. And it's so important, like it's so important, and you have to understand yourself, like, before you can understand the world. Like, look after yourself first, and then then start speaking to other people. But it's like understand what drives you, understand like what you're naturally curious about, understand what your fears are, understand what your goals are, understand about like what you're doing today and why you may do it. Like, you know, why I might want to just go out in the weekend, just go on a piss up. Like, I might want to avoid, you know, the current frame of mind or whatever. Like, it's just like when people tell me, like, when I used to be like, oh, I'm such an overthinker, like, but it's just like, well, that's when you put it into the wrong kind of things, and then you let it dictate like your overthinking thoughts. But it's like, well, if I just redirect this into me looking internally, and then I understand that I've got control over my thoughts, I'm not an overthinker at all. Like that, you can't overthink. Like, you can think too much into a problem that it sinks you deeper, but it's just all about understanding what things you have control of and what things you don't. But that's what works for me. Like, I'm just saying, because I've got issues sometimes with how the self-improvement area is pitched. It's kind of like there's a lot of status in it, there's a lot of ego, and there's a lot of like, well, if you're here, then here is better than there. So if you're not fucking doing your meditation, your breath work, and your
I'm above you,
ice baths, I'm above you, I'm transcending you.
I know more about myself than you.
Yeah, it's like like it's not that at all. Like, the point of it is to take the ego out of it. Like, and there's an argument to be said, like, that the less, like, what's the term? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, the more you realize about yourself, the more you realize that you don't know about yourself.
The more you have to fix.
Yeah.
Another problem.
But I think it's like really important for like a man, like especially in their 20s, to start figuring out themselves, like understanding what makes them tick, and I'm not going to do what the rest of the world is telling me to do.
And it's fucking Pandora's box. Once you open that, you're just like, even as I was saying in the last episode, like, it's frustrating because you're like, oh, okay, I figured this out. It's like, okay, I want to figure out more. And it's a slow process. Like, you can't just figure this shit out.
Yeah. But the time in which you get to those realizations is far more quick as you do progress. But yeah, on to the next one. Point 3. It's kind of like the previous one. Ask yourself what you're interested in, what's your natural curiosity. Kind of cover that. But yeah, I think the main important thing is like to, as we're speaking about this and speaking about each other's interests, is list out your interests, list out your goals in life, and list out the problems that you face on a day-to-day basis. Like, it could be something that you're unhappy with, like a problem that you have with yourself or your job, or
what pisses you off.
Pisses you off, because a great business idea can come from something that pisses you off. Like, because if you're able to list out like your interests, your goals, and your problems, then you could find yourself with a product. You could find yourself with a niche, because it's who you are and it's a unique selling point. And obviously chances are that people have faced the same things, and then you've got yourself a brand, which is yourself. But I definitely think it's important to kind of list out your goals, list out your values, list out things that pique your curiosity, and then also things that annoy you.
I think the things that annoy you is a massive thing, like, because we just accept so much, like, just like, oh, this pisses me off, but that's just the way it is. Like, it's like, well, it's not.
I had that thought. I had that thought about elevators, like lifts. Like, I'm just like, these are the most awkward scenarios. I get in these like 4 times a day, and everyone just stands in there and just doesn't speak to each other, and just like,
how do I make this less awkward?
Yeah, you just kind of have that straight face, or just look down your phone. It's just like, oh, okay.
Just a semi-smile. Like,
it's the most awkward, unnecessarily awkward 60 seconds of the day.
I think the fact if you think it's awkward, it's going to get 10 times more awkward.
Yeah, and then everyone else can feel that awkward. But getting in lift with clients is always so weird.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, what small talk topic can I bring up here? Like,
yeah, and then when the lift's open, then you break out into normal conversation again. It's so strange. It's so strange,
honestly.
And then getting to point 4, this is kind of like where I got with the lads, or with Mark, what he sent over. It was like writing out your North Star.
Mm.
So this is, if everything went the way you wanted in your life, what would your life look like in 5 years? Like, what is the end goal? Like, what would your life look like if everything went to plan in 5 years? Like, what is the perfect life for you? Who is around you? What are you doing?
What are you feeling like?
What are you feeling? What brings you joy? And from there, you chunk back. Like, so it could be 5 years, and then it's just like, okay, well, if that's the end point or whatever, if that's where I need to be or where I'm going, it doesn't mean that that's where I'm gonna be happy. It's like it's not the end goal. It's definitely just like,
A point of progression,
yeah,
really.
yeah, and then chunk down. So it's just like, well, what can I do today? Or if that's too easy, what can I do this week? Or if that's too easy, what can I do this first 30 days
Yeah.
to point me in the right direction of where I'm going?
I think
And
once you have that end goal, it's so much easier to move in the right direction.
yeah,
Because like when you just think, oh, okay, I want in 5 years' time, I want to be in a better situation. Like unless you can put a physical place on that and a feeling and what it looks like, actually gives you something to to set your crosshairs on, like to aim towards. Um, even as simple as what country you want to be in or what job you want to be doing. You know, at least you can make the steps in the right direction to put yourself in a position to get there.
yeah, like we walked through the exercise last week after the episode. That was,
Mm.
yeah, that was after the episode. I definitely have issues like
We know that.
but besides them,
Yeah.
I definitely have issues knowing what it looks like. I always have issues with visualization, like being a strong visualizer, and I can't imagine like what's around me or like what my house would look like or what country I'm in or whatever. But like I think I'm clearer on what I feel because that's more obvious for me because I'm able to feel that more than visualize where I am. So like I don't know, you were very easily able to kind of visualize that.
Yeah, well, I can't, but I don't know what I feel. Like, it's harder. It'd be harder to me for me to sit back and be like, okay, close my eyes for 5 minutes. That's the feeling I will have then.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I think it's because for so long that I felt it was difficult to define what I was running towards because, as we said, I was just too busy running away from the things I was running away
Mm.
from and just aiming just anywhere but here, like with a load of reverse role kind of models. So when you were speaking about like the previous experience that you've had in different jobs and what you've taken away from that, like it's always been for me, well, I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Let's just go anywhere but there. So I might be going the right direction. So I think for me, like it was definitely difficult and definitely is still difficult to understand where I'm going or what the end goal or 5 years look like. Only recently I'm getting a glimpse of that. So I'm not sure if other people would be similar, but for me, that's definitely to be the case. So it's not, you don't have to have it figured out. Like you don't know what exactly it has to look like or what it might feel like in 5 years. But if you can't, you need to start exploring the stuff that piques your natural curiosity, the things that actually bring you joy.
Yeah, I definitely think exploring, as you said, what two major things for me were like what pisses me off and what doesn't. Like what do parts of my day do I enjoy and what parts of my day piss me off. And I suppose one, trying to just eradicate the things that piss you off on a day to day basis. I suppose make a note of them. It's like, okay, well, this happens in this environment and I don't like it, so I don't want this in whatever future environment that is. Um, and then I suppose the things that you enjoy, just also make a mental note of them. Be like, okay, I actually enjoy doing this because I think like I know me definitely like you, all like these things you enjoy doing, but if someone asks just like, oh, give me three things you like you enjoy, give me three things you'd like to do on a Saturday, or give me three things about your week that bring you joy, I'd struggle to name them off the top of my head. Like you'd be like, oh well, do you know what I mean? But look, like looking back, like I love getting up early on a Saturday morning and just being productive. Like I think when you speak about a feeling in the future, I think that's probably as close as I could get. Like if my week could feel like a productive Saturday morning, if every day could feel like, okay, I can get up here. I'm not in a panic, or I'm not in a stress to do shit I don't want to do. Like, but I've got stuff to get done that I enjoy doing. Like, so I think if your average Tuesday could feel like that productive Saturday morning, that'd be the feeling I'd want. Like, you can finish up at 5 or 6 o'clock, not feeling drained, like, and you've got your evening to do whatever. Like,
And what are some of the things do you hate on a day-to-day basis, like you said there, that annoy you, that piss you off?
Rushing around for ungrateful people. Like, and I think deal with a lot of ungrateful people in this job. Like, even if you're trying to provide a service for owners, they don't give a shit. Like, clients will fuck you off and throw you under the bus, as quick as they would blink. Like, so those things, like, I'd hate to be in a job where your client can fuck off and go to the next person down the road and just play off each other. Do you know what I mean? That pisses me off. Providing a service for fucking free and getting zero respect for it, like, that pisses me off. So, like, those are two things I know going forward. Like, I don't want to be in a job where those things are factors, like where the customer has all this fucking power that they can just say fuck you, or where I suppose they're both customers, client and owner. So, like, yeah, that'd be a big one for me. Like, that I know, like, in the future, with whatever service I'm providing, I have the power to be like, if I don't want to work with you, I don't have to work with you. That's fine. Like, but that's probably the quickest one off the top of my head in the role at the moment. Like, what about you? Like, what pisses you off from day to day?
No, like, just before we go on, but like, that's like given with the expectation of receiving, like, like, as in, I'm going to give you this service and then you're going to be like, okay, good job, Liam. And I'm just being devil's advocate here. Like, how come it's different, let's say, on a Saturday? So it's like, okay, I'm providing a space, like, we're doing a run club, I'm giving to you, I'm not expecting anything in return here. Like, if you don't turn up, you don't turn up. If you go to another run club, you go to another run club. Why is that different? Why can you give without expectation of returning on a Saturday, but not give with expectation Monday to Friday?
Yeah, probably because I don't enjoy the giving.
Yeah.
Like, my Monday to Friday giving is like, this isn't filling my cup. Like, there's nothing here about this that I'm enjoying. Like, it's not like I love doing this service so much that I don't mind where you go. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I loved ringing owners and getting properties and I'm doing viewings of people, I'd be like, oh, I don't mind if you don't take this. I got so much fulfillment out of this that doesn't matter. Like,
so on the Monday to Friday, it's the giving because you will receive. So it's like, you give so that you will receive.
And then I suppose when you don't receive, then it's,
yeah, exactly. It feels like that there's injustice there. Like, yeah. It's just like, but the point I'm trying to make is that you're given so that you will receive the Monday to Friday. Yeah. But on a Saturday, you're given just purely from the enjoyment out of the given.
Yeah, Monday to Friday you're walking to get to a destination. Like,
yeah.
On a Saturday you're walking because you enjoy walking. And as you said, or as the quote goes, was the man that walks. I always get this fucking wrong.
2 weeks in a row, man. Honestly, 2 weeks in a row.
Right, let me try and get this now.
Okay.
The man that loves the journey, the man that loves to walk, will walk further than the man that loves the destination.
Yes, bravo.
Thank you very much.
But I think that's really interesting. Like, what we
that is. I never clocked that. Like,
I only when you said it there that we kind of unravel it there. So it's pretty cool to do that now. But the things that piss me off, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, at the start of it, I would still, what I now versus back then is completely different. Like, nothing really kind of pissed me off to begin with, like, and for the first few months, and only recently it's when people are starting to treat me like shit. I'm just like, but like this is bullshit. Like, why am I still getting treated like shit? When was I lied to? I thought after, like a year and a half it would get easier, like,
Yeah.
but it's not. Like, they're treating me still like new agents, like, and I'm just like, they're like on the phone like last week on a cold call. But you can understand, you have to come from a place of empathy and be like, okay, they speak to hundreds of people like this, so you
Yeah.
have to understand that you are going to look like
They don't
the
know you're
rest,
any
because
different.
they're
Like,
judging just from first judgment. Like, they're judging a book by its cover, which humans will do. But I was speaking to an owner last week, and she was just like, why would I list with you? Like, I've listed with 3 agents. Like, just more agents is worse. And I was just like, it just depends the quality of the agents. Like, I was just like, I backed myself to close this property. Like, I've closed X amount of deals in a year, and I was just like, fuck this. I just gotten to a stage where I'm just like, I'm fed up. Like, I'm just gonna throw my weight around here
Yeah.
and just be like, don't treat me like the new people. But
absolutely. But is
but
that sense of ego in that as well?
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, but it's a case of, I think, like, I have eaten the shit. Like,
Yeah, I don't deserve this, because deserve is just like,
oh, there's Brian's least favorite word.
it's not my least favorite word. It's just trying to something I'm trying to get out of my vocabulary. It's just like,
Don't deserve anything.
you don't like why should you deserve it? But I don't know, man. It's just, it's not that enough pisses me off. That's why I do this job. Like, there's so many other jobs that I just absolutely hated. So now that there's a job that I don't despise, I actually will do it for a longer period of time. Like, my old jobs, like the one that I was at before I moved over here, like, we had like 10 minutes to take a lunch, and like, you had a certain amount of toilet breaks during the day, and you had exactly 29 minutes and 59 seconds for your lunch, because if you came back over time and that there was an inbound call coming, like, you were getting in trouble. It's just like, I was like, you're waking up rushing for somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
like the second you wake up, there's a stopwatch. It's just like on somebody else's time. And that's what I hated about that. Like, and I wasn't getting paid per unit or how much business I brought in. I was getting paid per unit of time. Like, it's just like, well, I'm making so much more money for you than the person who's sitting beside me. Like,
And they're sitting here for the exact same time. Like,
I'm doing 10 sales a day. They're doing 1, if even, on a good day. It's just like, why are we getting paid the same amount here?
yeah.
Like, I was getting commission, but just not enough. Like, not
Yeah.
enough compared to what I was making and what they were making. Made no sense. So I hated that. So I think with this job, it's just I don't hate enough.
So you hated the fact that there was no. Was it the no commission or no progression? Like, because in a normal role, if you're there and you're doing that much better than other people, there would be progression. You'd move up.
No, the progression I could see, the ceiling I could see. Like, I mean, the next step up was like team leader for me, and I was making more than the team leaders because I was getting a good bit of commission. So I was just like, well, after the team leader, there's a manager, and what, and then after that, there's an owner of a telecommunication company. I don't want to do that. I was just like, okay, if I stayed here for like another 6 months, I'd only been there for like 5 months. I was like, I would be able to reach a managerial role. Do I want to do that? No. So I was just like, let me just do something new. But I hated the fact of working under somebody else's time, like just being so micromanaged, like I was in school.
Yeah,
And
skill and effort does not equal to reward. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it just knocks your motivation. Like, well, why the fuck would I try? Like,
Yeah.
why'd I bother for pennies extra?
Mm.
You know, but I'm working this amount harder.
That's why I was like, when I've said on this podcast, like, is by taking a commission role or a sales role or commission only or limited wage, like, that's when you truly find out about yourself. Like, that's when I was forced to truly look into myself and understand what I do and how that affects my performance, and what I can do to leverage myself into better positions. How can I increase my chances of getting lucky? I love the problem solving of real estate, man, and that's where I absolutely, I loved it, like, and I still do love aspects of it, but it's just because I'm the financial reward just isn't really doing it for me that much more anymore. Like, it's like I used to love being like, oh, how can I increase the amount of deals I close per month? Because this is what we spoke about. Like for me, it was like volume of deals
Mm.
that I could do, not the amount of commission I could close. And then because I got hyper obsessed with that, when I went into sales and it's very fucking slow, there's definitely that kind of like lack of
Absolutely. You
enjoyment
don't
out
like,
of it.
yeah, you're not getting those small hits of dopamine, like never mind the financial gain, just the dopamine side of things. Like, and I suppose closing a deal is closing a deal. Like that's the same amount of dopamine being released, and the only thing different is the amount of financial gain. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, that just goes to show you financial gain for you does not equal to
Mm.
your
And
levels.
it's each their own, like, as in, this is what I'm kind of getting into the final point. It's like these jobs are necessary. Like, this is what I want to wrap up, and not wrap up this conversation, but wrap up where the last two top conversations came from, and putting a full stop for myself. It's just like, I started kind of panicking that, you know, maybe this was a year wasted. Maybe I was driving myself too hard when I was just driving myself in the wrong direction. But like, it was a necessary step for me to know where I'm actually going.
Mhm.
Like it was necessary for me to find my true purpose. Like, and you do need to, like, the whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as I spoke about last week, it's just like, you have to be somewhat financially stable, or even get a glimpse into what financially stable would look like for you if you continue down this period of a path, to be able to have the luxury of being and thinking about, what am I actually passionate about? So you will have to eat the shit, or be financially rewarded, or be in a job that pays you well for a certain period of time, until that you're safe and secure enough that you can start thinking about the bigger picture and start having some self-awareness into what am I actually aligned with. And you might have to do jobs that don't align with your values or your morals, or things that might be unethical in your definition of what unethical means. But it is a necessary step in the right direction. Like, if anything, this is and always will be a step in the necessary, in the right direction. Like, and I need to emphasize, like, that doesn't mean that I've fallen out of love of real estate, or that I'm not doing real estate. But as we spoke about, in order to find your true purpose and align that with your job, you need to start taking baby steps and start not following your natural curiosity, as I'm doing. Because for so long I rejected the things that I was naturally curious at, because I was like, well, they don't equal a job. Just like, so now I've started to embrace those more, like through the Saturdays, or through even the men's circle on Tuesday. It was such a coincidence. I was given actually some responsibility to hold a circle, like a circle within a circle. And I was like, is that a coincidence or something? Like,
Yeah.
That's just like the perfect coincidence that
Because we
there's a
literally,
point in the right
I
direction.
think it was after the podcast last week, you had said that you're going to start exploring those avenues a bit more, like, and that was on Monday evening.
And then Tuesday night I was given more responsibility, and it felt like, I didn't necessarily feel fulfilled after it, but I was just like,
interesting.
yeah, I was just like, that felt comfortable. Like, that felt where I needed to be. Like, that felt at home for me. That felt normal. That felt comfortable and fluid. And because I had a lot of fear about, like, before that, like, after that episode, like, I was like, oh, well, I need to know now. Like, I need to know what my purpose is. You know, if this isn't my purpose, what is? Like, such a time wasted. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, with my life? Like, where am I gonna go? But it's just like, fucking slow down here. Like, relax, chill. Just take it step by step. Start exploring things that pique your natural curiosity. Set up your life so that it's a bit more secure, so that you have that flexibility. Maybe dial it back in some aspects of work. Don't dedicate every breathing moment to real estate, but just enough to get you by. And then just start exploring and be comfortable with the fact that you're not going to know tomorrow. But if you just kind of follow the things, then
yeah, absolutely. I agree with, like, what you're saying with, like, these jobs are a necessary step, not just for the financial gain, that this will give me the freedom to see where my interests lie, but these jobs provide you, like, they show you where your interests are. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like that, okay, you don't like this, you don't like that, you don't like this because of maybe 3 jobs you did in the past that you're like, that you can look back and take things out of them. So it's not only just for the financial gain, but the fact that they provide the insight as well, into who you are and what you enjoy, what makes you tick. That's what I've taken the most out of probably all the jobs I've worked in the past. Just like, as you said, like the negatives. Okay, well, I know I don't want to do this, or I know I don't want this aspect to be in my future, or whatever. Like, and you'd have no way of knowing those things without doing those jobs, taking those steps.
Yeah, and those there, like, they're positives, like within that, like the negatives in your job. If you're in a job that you hate, it's like, well, these will be future positives that I look back at with hindsight and be like, okay, it was kind of shit, it felt shit in the moment, but at least I have the hindsight to point to that as something that I shouldn't be doing. Because if you're in a job that you hate, it's not going to get better. No amount of money is going to make it better. No amount of money is going to make that whole experience better. You're still going to feel the same way. So start taking some self-control, start looking internally, start examining things that you're curious about and piques your natural curiosity.
Living with intention.
Living with intention, sticking true to yourself, and take the baby steps that are required in order to find that. This might be old news for people, or it could be whatever.
It's not for us, though.
This is just what we're figuring out at the moment. I mean, being 24, I hate when people are saying,
you're still young.
And I hate when people are saying, man, like, you're only 24.
Actually, we must speak to someone we know that listens to the podcast that's a bit older than us, and has much more experience. We should speak to them tomorrow if we see them, or whenever next week, if they listen to this episode. Just be like, did you know all that already? Like, is this old news for you? Like, why hasn't anyone told us this shit?
Yeah.
Just to see, out of interest, you know, like, have the people ahead of us that are 10 steps ahead of us, have they gone through this at the same age as us, or at some stage? Like, have they figured these things out for themselves? Like,
I'd say so. Well, actually, it depends, man. Like, there's a lot of people having midlife crisis and stuff, so maybe they didn't think about it. All right.
so what is it? We're guaranteeing ourselves not to have midlife crisis.
There's
here?
no guarantees in life.
Unlikely.
Unlikely. Actually, the same person was talking to me about a book that he was reading, talking about like finding your true passion in life, and you're either 24 or you're 40 when you're going through that. It was weird. Like, he was reading a book that said you're either 24 or you're 40 when you're trying to find your passion. Like, 40 because you missed it when you're 24. And then he was like, what age are you again? I was like, 24. And he's like, mad coincidence. So maybe these are the kind of things that people have to go through, but potentially the things that would be worthwhile going through until you realize that it's too late, and and not too late, but yeah, it just feels like, in your personal opinion, that you've wasted a lot of time going something in the wrong direction, because that's my biggest fear.
But like, imagine I asked you that question I asked you 2 weeks ago when you were 40.
Mm.
The tailspin had sent you into fucking last week.
Oh my God, man. It'd last me months. It would last me months to have that kind of meltdown at 40. But what was I
touch
going
wood,
to say?
we get there.
To 40?
Yeah.
Don't touch wood just because you are. But yeah, I think it's brought me a lot of comfort, and doing the exercise that the lads that Mark sent over to me gave me so much clarity, because
It's just the way to say it.
like, now it's there in proof, and at any moment, if I doubt myself or doubt whatever, I just go back and read it and just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Is this aligning? Is what I'm doing currently, is that aligning with this North Star? Is this aligning with the end goal? Is this aligning with my future self? If no, then why are you doing it? If yes, okay, keep going. And any time that it gets grey or it gets unsure or whatever, then I just go back to it. Like, it even talked about me mapping out some of my values, which I was able to define, like, for the first time, because sometimes you just speak about your values And it's something that I've only gotten to understand the last year, like what my values are. And it's only by looking at some of the opposite role models and being like, okay, what do they have? Okay, what's the opposite word of that? Okay, that must be my value. So yeah, I think it's important to go through this for yourself and write these things down. And if anybody wants that document, let me know and I'll send it over to you.
Please do. I'll get it off you.
Copyright of Kaizen. If you're listening to this, I'm going to send all your hard work to everybody. But it was massive for me. And I think it's really important to align your purpose with your job, because gone are the days, man. Like gone are the days where you have to work for a pension and a job that you hate for the rest of your life to put food on the table. Like we're in the age where we have the luxury to look beyond that. We're in the age of information, and you can set up your own business tomorrow online if you want. Like 80 years ago, who would have thought of fucking like a men's coach or a life coach or a nutrition, like a dietitian or a bodybuilding coach or whatever, like, you know, who would have thought that they would have been careers? But people are just not following their natural curiosity, finding something that they have an issue with or a problem, something that they're passionate about and that piques their curiosity, and making it into a business. I mean, yeah, if you've got an interest, just make it. Inefficiency. There you go. What keeps you up at night? What business ideas keep you up at night? And just lean into that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. An insightful episode. For me, anyway, it was.
Did it close the book at all for you?
In what sense?
Put the full stop at our last two conversations.
Yeah.
I think it will when you do the exercise.
I definitely think it, yeah. 100%. Yeah, the North Star thing, mapping that out. It's going to be interesting.
And then working back from that, because everyone talks about 5 and 10 years plans, but it's only when you break it down.
Yeah, I think mapping that out and working back, like, it gets the wheels in motion. Like, it forces you to put one foot in front of the next, like, you know, because okay, this 5-year plan might seem so daunting, and next thing you know, you're 3 years into it and you've done nothing about it. Like, but at least if you can chunk that back to, okay, what the fuck do I need to do this week? What do I need to get done by the end of the month? Like, and just keep doing that month on month.
You start living with intention. Then how you live your life changes completely.
Yeah, true.
Because I think that's been one of the massive things for me. It's just like, yeah, what I do now, and then how will that affect my whatever, and then you start naturally growing into it, and it's not a fast process, but yeah, and I think it's surrounding yourself with people who are also somewhat looking at a long-term plan, because there's plenty of people who aren't. There's plenty of people in Dubai that are only going to be here for a year or two, if even. Extended holiday / university, don't really have an end goal. It's like, okay, so be it. More power to them. But you're not the people that I'll be surrounding myself with, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think we should call the last 3 episodes mini-series, Brian's early life crisis.
Don't shift this on to me. Do not shift this on to me.
Our early life crisis.
Our early life crisis. Not a crisis at all.
A revelation.
It has been the past few weeks, to be honest.
It's just dissecting, I suppose. A couple of ideas. Yeah, it's clarity, as you said, like you said about how it provided clarity, like the Mark's exercise provided clarity, like, and I suppose that's what we spent the last 3 weeks looking for. It's just that clarity.
Yeah.
Because there's been something in our minds that you're like, okay, something's off here. And each week for the podcast, we've trying to kind of be just dissect the conversations over the last week and provide that clarity. And I think this week you've definitely got. I just need to do this exercise now and sit down and see if it provides some more clarity for myself.
Yeah, it's so funny. I asked him for advice, like, no, I told him what I was going through or whatever, like the things we were talking about, and he just sent over this document. Like, there you go, work through that. Where are you pulling this stuff out of?
Honestly.
Honestly,
Honestly.
all got his emblem and his logo on it and everything. Like, and I was like, fucking hell.
Get on to the boys. If you need some help with,
Honestly, get onto Kaizen Collective on Instagram. Mark and Paddy, two of some of the most influential people in our lives. And yeah, they cover all those bits, and they've got enough content coming out of their ears.
absolutely, so enjoyable to watch.
100%. It is enjoyable to watch that. People following their passion and really aligning their current self with their future self.
Yeah.
It is enjoyable to watch. But
I think it's mad to even see, like, obviously, because you've known Mark a while now.
while, yeah. Just the
And-
old 24 years.
I've known Paddy up in the same amount of time, like, but
Yeah.
even just seeing like who they are now versus who they were whenever going into college or anything, like, even that whole self improvement or progression or whatever way you want to phrase it, it's crazy. It's very wholesome.
It's very wholesome seeing people do what they enjoy.
Mm.
The guy that we drove past today, the security guy who was waving through the traffic.
Stop. I saw this guy on Friday, literally standing at a zebra light, at a zebra crossing, and a high vis top on, just like, there's one at like every zebra crossing. This fella has, every time you see him, he's having a ball, like waving on everybody, dancing, like smiling, thumbs up, waving everyone through. And I saw him Friday, and he gave me a good old chuckle. And I was like, that man loves his job.
Yeah.
Anyway, it slipped my mind, and we saw him again today. And then Brian was like, that man loves his job. But we were like, I'd love to fucking just stop and tip him. Just be like, you've made my day.
Yeah, we get such enjoyment as humans looking at that. Like, it's just like, that's fucking powerful. Like, you enjoy your job, you're doing it for doing it.
Yeah.
Put a massive smile on your face.
Yeah, like, and
I
if
think
you
that's what it's about.
if you can get that much enjoyment from standing at a zebra crossing and just waving cars past, like, you know, if that's his passion, and like, for me, that'd be the worst job in the world.
Yeah,
But he's obviously fucking loving it. I want to
100%.
find my zebra crossing.
100%. I want to wave. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I want to act my job the way he acts.
Yeah, I want to look that happy doing my job. I
You
couldn't give
never
a shit
know.
if people perceive it as that's a shit job. If I'm that happy,
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was just like, in that scenario, I would care what people are thinking about me or whatever. But it's just like, everyone's driving past me, like, fucking guy, look at him.
yeah,
That's class.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Find your zebra crossing.
find your zebra crossing in life.
Brian, that probably brings us to a close, doesn't it?
Does indeed, up onto the hour mark. But yeah, special thanks as always to anybody who has listened this far, and anybody who's in Dubai and wants to meet us and wants to go through any internal dilemma with themselves with us.
We're well versed at this stage.
Yeah, we are indeed. Let us know and meet us up on the Saturday social. New time, 7 a.m. New location on Kite Beach. All details and locations can be found at our Instagram at _ the playbox or some bullshit.
Yeah.
It shall be in the link in the description.
You know how we always say at the start of the episodes, like, we don't know what we're talking about. We're just figuring all this out. I think when it comes to personal dilemmas or internal dilemmas, we can say we know what we're talking about at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's gotten to a point.
We've got our experience.
Yeah.
We've had this shit.
Yeah, we have indeed. But yeah, massive thanks as always.
Absolutely, Brian. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's always, Liam.
Good luck.
Good luck.